Hello, I am Mr. Lee Chemsir. This video clip is to discuss with you the answers for the pre-mock exam earlier. Since there are so many questions, so I will discuss with you briefly. Question number 1. Hydrochloric acid is of course a mineral acid and it completely ionizes in water to give the hydrogen ions, and the statement in option D is of course incorrect because all solutions should contain hydroxide ions. So make sure you got this idea. Question number 2. Iodine is of course a black solid and it sublimes when heated. However, iodine does not conduct electricity as it is a non-metal with the simple molecular structure. So C is the answer. D is a correct statement because the reactivity of group 7 elements decreases down the group. Question number 3. Y forms an oxide Y2O3. So obviously Y has the normal oxidation number being positive 3, and therefore the nitrate of Y should have the formula as stated in option B. Question number 4. Copper 2 dichromate. First of all, make sure you know that it consists of 2 ions, copper 2 ions and dichromate ions. And since it is a migration of ions, so make sure you know that the cations will migrate towards electrode B because electrons will flow along this direction, and of course the electrode B is in fact the cathode, and therefore the blue spot, because of the copper 2 ions, will move towards electrode B. So the answer is B. A is of course incorrect because the color of copper 2 or dichromate should not be purple. And C is incorrect. Orange, of course, talking about dichromate should be moving towards the anode, as it is an anion. So this is incorrect. D is of course incorrect, as there will be color changes. Blue to the electrode B and orange to the electrode A. Question number 5. From the electron diagram, the charge of the ions, it is obvious that X is a group 2 element, while Y is a group 7 element. Therefore, it is obvious that the answer is B. Question number 6. Dative covalent bond. Actually, for these 3 options, H3O+, water has 2 lone pairs of electrons. If one of the lone pairs of electrons is donated to H plus ion, then it becomes the H3O+ ion, and that is option 1. Option 2, very similar situation. Ammonia molecule has 1 lone pair of electrons, and if this lone pair of electrons is donated to H+, then the resulting ion is ammonium ion. So it is another example. Option 3. Ammonia molecule, boron trifluoride molecule. Just like before, if the lone pair of electrons on the N atom of ammonia molecule is donated to the electron deficient boron atom in BF3, then this will form the NH3BF3. So all these 3 options are examples talking about dative covalent bonds. So the answer is D. Question number 7. Boron and nitrogen react to form boron nitride. This is unfamiliar, but the question already told you that the boron nitride has a layer structure similar to graphite. So the 3 options, one by one, okay? It has a high melting point. So just like graphite has a very high melting point, over 3000 degrees Celsius. So this is correct. Can be used as a lubricant, just like graphite, as it is layered, okay, has a layered structure. So it can act as a lubricant because between the layers there are just weak van der Waals forces. Graphite is insoluble in water, so boron nitride is also expected to be insoluble in water. So all these 3 options are correct. The answer is D. Question number 8. Not obeying octet rule. So BH3, boron, just group 3. After sharing the electrons, it has only 6 outermost electrons on the B atom, so it is non-octet. HCN should have a structure like this. So carbon atom, H electrons, nitrogen atom, H electrons. Hydrogen, 2 electrons. Of course, it is already satisfying the attaining the octet of attaining the doublet of electrons. So all the atoms here obey the octet rule. Option 3, sulfur trioxide. Make sure you know that sulfur is a group 6 element. It can share electrons with 3 oxygen atoms like this. So altogether there are 12 electrons on the sulfur atom. So only 1 and 3 do not obey the octet structure. The answer is C. Question number 9. Greatest number of lone pairs of electrons. Let's discuss the options one by one. A, chlorine gas, Cl. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lone pairs of electrons. Option B, BeCl2. It has a linear shape like this. Again, just the chlorine atoms will have the lone pairs of electrons. So again, 6 lone pairs of electrons. SCl2, be careful, sulfur is group 6 after sharing electrons with 2 chlorine atoms. And there should be 2 lone pairs on the sulfur atom, so totally 8 lone pairs of electrons. D, C2Cl2. So be careful, C2Cl2, the 2 chlorine atoms should be bonded to carbon atoms like this. That means the carbon-carbon bond should be a triple covalent bond. So 6 lone pairs of electrons. So the answer is C. Question number 10. From the sharing of electrons, you can find that B is a group 6 element because it shares the electron like this. And then A is a group 4 element. You see, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 electrons. And finally, C is probably hydrogen because it shares just like this. So the answer is A. Question number 11. From these 4 statements, okay? Statement 1 first, heating oxide of W gives metal W. It is obvious that W is an unreactive metal. probably silver or mercury. Statement 2, heating metal X in steam gives a colorless gas. So it is obvious that X is a moderately reactive metal. For example, magnesium, zinc, iron, and lead. Putting Y into ethanoic acid solution giving a colorless gas, so the reactivity of Y is of course higher than that of copper. Statement 4, putting Ez in copper-2 sulfate solution to give a reddish brown solid, which is of course copper. That means a displacement reaction occurs. So again, Ez is more reactive than copper. So from the information provided, the metal with the lowest reactivity is of course A. Question number 12. We can work out the value of N using the following method. So suppose the mass of the sample is supposed to be 100 grams, then based on the information provided, (51.16%) if we assume that the sample has such a mass, then there is 51.16 grams of water. So for X, just do this subtraction. This is just the mass. Of course, we have to find the number of moles. So for X, mass divided by the molar mass, that gives such a number. And then for water, mass over molar mass, it gives 2.842. So it is obvious that the simplest mole ratio being 1:7. The answer is C. Question number 13. This question is very tricky. Actually, the correct answer is A, as only A is the correct statement. Actually, all solutions contain H plus ion. Please make sure you know that even for pure water, it will ionize by itself based on this. Okay, and then for B, pH of all acid solution is greater than 0. It seems to be correct. However, if you think of the following counterexample, what if the X is a sample 2mHCl? Then, based on what you learn for pH, which is the negative logarithm of the hydrogen ion concentration, then in that case, that is negative log 2. Then you will get the pH being negative. So pH value of all acid solution may be negative. So this is incorrect. Option C, all acidic compounds contain hydrogen. Of course, this is incorrect. One counterexample being sulfur dioxide. It is an acidic oxide, acidic gas, acidic air pollutant, okay? But its formula does not contain any hydrogen atom. D is again incorrect. make sure you know that corrosive is referring to concentrated acids or alkalis. For dilute acids, normally we may put the hazard warning label irritant for dilute acids. And even, let me tell you, many solutions in daily life are acidic. For example, orange juice, soft drinks, and so on, okay? They are actually not hazardous, and therefore we should not put hazard warning labels and even the corrosive label on it. So statement in D is incorrect. Question number 14. Make sure you know that lowest electrical conductivity is of course talking about the situation in option B, because right here the sulfuric acid will form a precipitate with barium hydroxide. The precipitate is of course barium sulfate precipitate. Once the precipitate is produced, the concentration of ions will decrease significantly, and therefore the electrical conductivity will be the lowest. So that's the end of part 1 of this video clip.